So, I've been thinking a lot about the game called Paratopic by Arbitrary Metric that came out in 2018. It's a few years old now, and there's been a lot of videos kind of analyzing this story, and I think a lot of people have figured out exactly kind of what's going on. So, this definitely contains spoilers, and I'll give a quick run through of what I think the game is. It's sort of like three different stories that all take place in the same area. There's the assassin, the smuggler, and the bird watcher. And of course, the bird watcher, gets attacked by that monster at the end after they're going around taking photos of birds. The assassin is tracking down the bird watcher after the bird watcher finds that underground facility. And I guess that's not okay, so the assassin has to go kill them. And the smuggler meets with the handler and in the diner, and then goes to their apartment, gets the case, and then they get arrested by the border officer. Border officer watches the tape and turns into the TV head monster character. And a lot of other stuff happens, but that's pretty much the big stuff in the game. It's a really short game, but I think it's really great. I think it's one of the coolest games I've ever played, really, for some reason. I think it really struck me a lot when I played it, and I thought it was sort of like watching a David Lynch movie or something, which is definitely, I think, what the creators were going for. And I was thinking a lot recently about the monsters that were presented in the game. There's a few. The main ones are kind of like, of course, that crazy beast man that like attacks the bird watcher is one of the main kind of monsters that you see in the story. Then there's also the TV head, like I mentioned earlier, the guy whose head turns into a TV after he watches the tape, after interrogating the smuggler. His body starts falling apart and all that. And there's also the neighbor, after you give them the tape. The neighbor, their head kind of like, their face splits out, like flowers out, kind of. And that's a big part. That's one of the coolest scenes in the whole thing. And then finally there's those like weird monster creatures that are hanging out in the diner behind you guys when you have the meeting, which those monsters look exactly like the weird beast thing that attacks the bird watcher at the end of the bird watcher story. So I would propose that those are the same, and that they are part of this sort of alien race that is presented in the story that has like taken over Earth, or at least this region that the story takes place in. Because as a lot of other analysis has revealed, it's like there's like the power company in the game that there's been some big event where the power company had an accident, and that's been proposed that accident might be referring to some type of alien takeover or something. And I think that these guys must be those aliens, which seems kind of obvious to a lot of people. But I want to talk about more how these aliens relate to the TV head character, and when your neighbor's face splits open. When you give your neighbor the tape and they're fiending for it, they take it to their room and they watch it, and you see their face flower out like that. I think that might be some weird sort of beginning process in turning into one of those aliens. I think maybe, like, I know that the neighbor character says they watched tapes before, they want a good one and stuff like that, and they're not an alien yet. But I'm thinking that when the smuggler character gives their neighbor that tape, and they take it to their room, and they watch it and turn into the weird flowered out face character, that might be some beginning process in turning into one of those aliens. And maybe considering that other monster, the TV head one, the border officer that turns into a TV head monster, since his head gets turned into a TV, maybe he had one of these face splitting events, and somehow he was like became one with the TV, and maybe that's what your neighbor was about to do. They're about to flower out, and they're about to rock into the TV, and something weird was going to happen like that. And and maybe that's how that's one of the middle stage of becoming one of those weird alien things. And I would say that it's the middle stage because I think the last stage is becoming one of those alien things. Because if you notice, when the TV head border patrol guy is wandering towards you and his body's falling apart, he's losing his limbs and whatever. He kind of ends up looking a lot like one of those aliens. He gets taken down a lot. He's really skinny. He's like just red, weird skeleton figure. Much like how those aliens in the diner and the one that attacks the bird watcher, they all look like that. And so maybe that's what's going on here. Maybe like the game has these tapes that turns people into aliens. And what that could be referring to, I don't know. I saw one YouTuber saying that like the game is talking about how watching like graphic, I don't know, footage can change people or something. But yeah, I feel like that might be how these monsters are created. And I think they start out like your neighbor, they watch a tape, they experience the weird face split out thing, like it's the movie The Thing or something, and then they somehow lean into the TV or something and get all hung up on it, and then walk around, their body falls apart and morphs into a weird alien thing. Eventually they lose the TV on their head, and transformation complete. When I first played Paratopic, I think I was sort of caught up in the whole David Lynch style they have going on with, how the story is presented. And when the bird watcher got attacked by that alien, it sort of reminded me of, I forgot what movie it was, but there's this David Lynch movie where there's these two characters that go around a corner and they see this weird hairy monster character that's just like this random ass monster that I don't think they really even explained for the rest of the movie. I feel like it was Mulholland Drive, the movie. But and it was just this weird moment that I really liked, and they just saw this guy, it just really scared them. I don't know what it was supposed to represent. I only saw the movie once, so I don't know, maybe I missed something. But yeah, I thought that monster that kills the bird watcher was just this, random monster that is there for the sake of being a monster. But when I started realizing this connection with the tapes and the character that flowers out maybe gets its head taken over by a TV, and they turn into this monster, and then you see the diner, the other monsters just hanging out at the diner like it's like they're normal. They're not killing anybody apparently, like the one that kills the birdwatcher. And so it almost seems like there's just this population of transformed creatures that are living in this area, and maybe there was never an alien invasion at all, and it was just these tapes that were changing people into like this new species. But apparently this new species just does human stuff, like they go to diners and kill people. But I don't claim to be offering any kind of definite analysis on what these creatures are, or how all of these characters relate to each other. It could just be that the creators of the game were just reusing this character model, and it happened to imply that these are all like this monster species taking over after being transformed by tapes. But I guess it seems like the human characters in the story are killing each other and making weird shady deals, and the new species of monsters are doing pretty much the same thing. And I guess, I don't know. I mean, maybe the easiest way to think of the game is just this weird story that is crafted to make you feel uneasy. And of course, there's the whole aspect of it where it's like called paratopic because it's supposed to imply a much larger story outside of what it is showing you. You know, it's beside the topic. And so that's kind of the real answer to a lot of these questions. So I guess a lot of this, what I'm doing here is trying to figure out the topic in the paratopic, and trying to figure out what these monsters are and how they're created. And so yeah, that's all for me. Thank you for listening, and take it easy.